Hi, everybody. This is my initial post for this week. Um, so, this week we have a vignette with Zaid and Mike. Um, and so, I'm going to talk a little bit about the case conceptualization that I came up with and the three interventions that I came up with utilizing experiential therapy. So, experiential therapy is rooted in the notion that the root cause of family problems is emotional suppression, and that avoidance or denial of such emotional impulses can create problems within the family system. The goal of experiential therapy is to assist the family to enter a process of growth. As a result of the therapy, each family member will learn how to congruently, completely, and honestly um, on what they see and hear, feel, and think about themselves in the presence of others. So that's like a little bit about that self actualization. Um, in addition to being seen as unique, with any differences being openly accepted and seen. So with Zaid and Mike, obviously the first thing is that they seem really anxious and untrusting. So I definitely want to make them feel welcome and work on creating that safe environment before we delve into the being very direct and stirring the pot role. So, some of the things that I noticed were that so we have the issue of the affair that was 2 years into the marriage. There seems to be a lot of issues surrounding emotional suppression. Um, Obviously, they're experiencing marital issues. There seems to be some intimacy issues, and that lack of individuality and lack of freedom to share experiences, or even have experiences. Um, so a couple things that I noticed were that a lot came up about Mike's symptoms. Um, and based on Mike's emotional response and what he said, he believes them to be very real. And it seems like he has, or he feels like he isn't validated. Um, and it could be that all of these symptoms, what if they started? One thing that I thought of was, what if they started when the affair happened? And so Mike sort of developed these somatic symptoms because of the issues that are going on in the marriage. Um, so, what I noticed is that when it comes to communication styles, there's a lot of blaming. I felt like both Mike and Zaid blamed because when one wasn't blaming one was blaming the other. So I feel like that's both a survival communication style that they use. Um, and I was kind of contemplating that Mike took the role as the victim and Zaid took the role as the martyr in the session. So that's something that I noticed. Um, so, based on that, the goal that I would have for them is to increase congruent communication and promote self actualization of both Mike and Zaid, uh, and to reduce the defensiveness and the use of the survival stances in their communication. Because I did notice that so what it sounds like is that Zaid likes to go out and is more social. Mike likes to stay at home, but neither of them are encouraged to do that, and that's part of that individuality. And so them being able to do those things that they like, that are a part of them, but also respecting each other and encouraging each other to have experiences. That's something that I feel like the experiential therapist would focus on. So some of the interventions that I chose would first to be to facilitate emotional expression. So I would use communication coaching strategies. So when they came in and sat down, they were sitting far away from each other. And so I would turn their chairs towards one another and give them prompts. And kind of like maybe like asking Mike, about the affair. Well, how did that make you feel? And then, or Zaid, how does it make you feel when Mike doesn't want to go out and do anything with you, or when, whatever happens. And then when either of them revert to their survival communication style, so blaming, I would interrupt and suggest how to rephrase to be more congruent, using I statements when possible rather than you, to avoid that blaming. And I would encourage them to be direct and honest while respecting each other at the same time. And then the second intervention I chose would be family sculpting. This would be in order to break down that defensiveness that both of them have towards one another. So I would use family sculpting to show how Mike and Zaid experience their relationships relative to one another. And this would be helpful because it can help Mike and Zaid discuss how they might like their relationship with each other to change. And it can help bring insight to one another by basically showing how each of them perceive themselves in the relationship. And then the third intervention that we could use would be puppets. We could ask Zaid and Mike. Sorry, I was like reading and I was like, I spelled his name wrong. We could ask Zaid and Mike to put on a puppet show that shows the conflict that they are having. And then after they play it out, we could ask them to create a new and more satisfactory ending. And this would be beneficial because puppets can often express what the client cannot, and they can relieve them of having to carry that specific burden in the relationship. So I look forward to watching your guys' videos, and I'll check in with you tomorrow. Bye.